This is the Nothing But Bucs podcast. Now, here's your host, TJ Rives.
Well. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go into their bye week at 3-1. How good does that sound, Buccaneer fans? As we come in on a Monday after a 26-9 victory. Very impressive, very decisive, complete performance over the New Orleans Saints. And the Bucs have now put together a nice start to this 2023 season. Great to be back with you on your home for everything in the recap mode from the Buccaneer games from week to week. It is the Nothing But Bucs podcast. I am the somewhat competent host and had a blast in the Big Easy this week. I'm going to tell you some stories about being around in the Big Easy and everything that transpired with the Bucs and their victory. But let me just say at the outset that while you haven't accomplished the goals you would want, which are things like winning the division, making the playoffs, winning playoff games, contending for the Super Bowl, none of that has happened. But none of that can happen until the end of the season, the stretch run in December and January. That's where you make the playoffs or not. That's where you do damage in the postseason or not. We're not there. Nobody's there. I mean, it's great that you get off to a good start, but ultimately, when you start talking about what are you going to do in the postseason, that's for much later on. All we can go on is what we've seen through 4 weeks of this NFL season. And all I'm going to say to you, Buccaneer fans, is with the way this team continues to play, especially off a tough loss to Philadelphia, who beat you up in your own house on Monday Night Football, and 6 days later, you got to turn around on the road in a hostile environment against a team that over the course of the NFC South creation and the run here in the 2000s has really had the Buccaneers number up until lately. The fact that you go in there and you run roughshod over that team in the second half, like this team did on Sunday and improved to 3-1, they are shutting a lot of people up. It was a complete performance for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. Give credit where it is due to Todd Bowles, his staff having him prepared, and you got too many vets, too many stars with too much pride. Baker Mayfield, new to the team, but leading this team. Evans and Godwin in the receiving core, even though Evans got hurt late in the first half with the hamstring, and we'll have more on that later on here in the podcast. But Chris Godwin showing up large. You got K. Dotton as a second-year tight end making plays. You got Rashad White coming in as a second-year running back making plays, especially after the catch and hitting the hole better in this game. You go over to the defensive side of the ball, my Lord, are we going to talk about Antoine Winfield Jr., who looks fantastic right now as a safety leader for this team. But, whether it's Levante David and Deven White as a two-headed linebacker monster, whether it is Vita Vea and Shaq Barrett and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and Logan Hall and Yaya Diaby and all those guys making plays up on the defensive line, Anthony Nelson, William Golston, on and on and on that are making plays. There are too many stars on this team. Like a Carlton Davis, like the young rookie Trey Palmer, who looks like a star. And he may be counted on more here in the short term if Evans' injury is significant. But Palmer makes a spectacular catch, which you're going to hear the highlight of here in a little bit. Too many stars on this team with too much pride early on to not think they were going to win football games. We understood this. I could be accused of being biased, slanted, or whatever, but I could also be accused of being right when I kept telling people this offseason, too many good players, 11 by my count, that won a Super Bowl that are still on this roster. There are, I believe, 15 players still on this roster, either 15 or 16, that won 13 games 2 years ago. Too many veteran, talented players that are not just going to lie down and be 1-3 or 0-4. So again, it's not everything. But be thrilled about the start for this 2023 season and the job that this team has done and being in position right now in first place. How does it sound, Buccaneer fans? First place, sole possession in the NFC South. And the Buccaneers, by the way, never relinquished the lead in the NFC South a year ago. And now, by the way, in terms of the division, I just saw this stat, have been leading in regular season play 36, leading or tied for the lead, 36 of the last 37 NFL regular season weeks. The Bucs have been in the lead in the division, either tied or outright leaders of the NFC South. So that has a good ring to it. You go into the bye week in the right frame of mind and you got it done. Anyway, thank you for finding this Nothing But Bucs podcast, however you did so, through a social media link, through the Buccaneers mobile app, Buccaneers.com, through all the podcast outlets. Again, we're here after each and every game, typically on Monday moving forward now, after a game. Obviously, a bye week this week, so there won't be Nothing But Bucs next week. But after that Lions game coming in 2 weeks, we'll be here on Monday. After the Falcons game, after that, speaking of the NFC South, the Falcons will come in. Buccaneers get the next 2 at home off the bye. Monday, Nothing But Bucs. Now, the one exception is later that week, short week, is the Thursday night game in Buffalo. You'll get a Nothing But Bucs on Friday in that case. The day after games, that's what we look forward to with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers and with this recap podcast. You're going to hear the highlights in a few minutes from Gene Deckerhoff and Dave Moore. I'm down there on the sideline as part of Buccaneers Radio with 98 Rock and the Buccaneers Radio Network on the mobile app, on Sirius XM and all the other outlets, NFL Plus, etc. You'll also hear the postgame interviews from our Hooters postgame show. Coming up, you're going to hear from Baker Mayfield. You're going to hear from Antoine Winfield. You're going to hear from the receivers, Deven, Thompkins, and Chris Godwin, that made fantastic plays in this game. I mean, how money is Godwin, and how much more are you going to count on him with if Mike Evans is in the short term not able to play? Godwin can be a number one receiver in this league, and he played like it again on Sunday in the Superdome. Hear from those guys, hear from Coach Todd Bowles, and much more as the podcast unfolds. And also our radio analyst, 15-year NFL veteran, 13 of them with the Bucs. He had some success in his career against the New Orleans Saints head-to-head in a lot of matchups. Dave Moore will be here about this win in the Big Easy, and we look forward to that coming up a little bit later on the podcast. Before we get into the highlights, just to set the scene, we got to the Bayou, got to the French Quarter on Saturday evening, and I got the chance to go out with our Hall of Fame play-by-play voice, Gene Deckerhoff. And Gene and I went out to dinner. Love getting to be around that man. His 35th season now, Florida Sports Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame as a broadcaster for all of his years with Florida State. It's amazing. Mean Gene still going strong here, calling Buccaneer games. And so we were out with a college football Saturday going on, having some food, some beverage. I know this, the LSU fans were down and out in the establishment where we were right off of Bourbon Street. It was an LSU hangover Saturday night for their defeat in a wild scoring game with Ole Miss. There were a lot of Buccaneer fans walking around in the French Quarter as well. It kept stopping Gene and me, photos, etc. We had a blast going out, seeing everybody. And then even on Sunday morning, heading to the Superdome for this matchup, Buccaneer fans all over the place, outside the hotel and around the French Quarter. I would say, especially when the game was over and the Buc fans all made their way down to the lower level, there were easily a couple of thousand and maybe as many as 3,000 Buccaneer fans that got their hands on tickets that were all over the place, especially when the Saint fans were emptying out midway through the fourth quarter. What a great feeling to watch all of them file out in virtual silence as the Buccaneers put it on the New Orleans Saints. So that just kind of sets the scene for what you're about to hear with the highlights and everything that went on in this matchup as the Buccaneers and Saints came in 2-1 each, tied atop the NFC South. Let's get into the highlights and how things got underway. Buccaneers won the toss and deferred to get the football to start the second half, also to take the crowd out of the game because then the Saints have the ball first. So the Saints moved down the field and they were able to get an opening scoring drive, a field goal drive. Buccaneer defense kind of played bend but don't break. Saints end up marching on that opening scoring drive in quarter number one, a total of 11 plays, 56 yards. They got the early field goal. They got the 3-0 lead. But from then on, the Buccaneers really controlled this game. It was a battle of punts, a battle of field position. The Buccaneers even tried some trickery once they got a drive going here. Here's the way that Gene called a unique play call from Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator.
Now Thompkins in motion, fakes the pitch, hands the ball off a reverse to the right side. A pass downfield. Incomplete pass at the 10, 15-yard line. Chris Godwin, I think that's his first career pass attempt, trying to hit Palmer, who was covered on the near sideline.
First ever pass attempt for Chris Godwin. You've been setting some things up with the jet sweep, with, pitching it to guys on the inside or handing it to them and have them take off. Well, here, this was a double reverse, and I really thought they could have called interference. I mean, what do we know? It's on the other side of the field from me by the Saints sideline. But I thought on the attempted reception there that could have been interference on the Saints. Nonetheless, you're not able to get that play, the trick play, to work. But then, this is a theme we've seen already in the first 4 weeks. Baker Mayfield's mobility as a quarterback for this team, keeping plays alive with his feet and the ability to go do this here on the second quarter drive.
Good snap to Mayfield. Mayfield looking, cocks the arm, comes back to his left. He's going to run. Mayfield's going to try to get the first down. He does get the first down, just inbounds across the 26-yard line. Needed to reach the 26, and he leaned forward with the football. And on the Buccaneers sideline, he got the first down.
Again, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Nobody is ever going to touch all of the Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl wins, all the records. But let's be honest, at 44, 45 years of age, as he was playing the last couple of years, he's not mobile to be able to get out of the way, sustain plays, take off and run. That's not him. He would occasionally do it and then jump up with the let's go and point the first down. But, Mayfield's toughness over and over and over again. And the Buccaneers just kept making plays. Rachaad White got a catch and got down to the 1 yard line, and now you're looking to take the lead, and you do so right here.
Third down and goal. Baker Mayfield looking, flushed, gets the pass. Caught ball, touchdown! Tight end, Cade Otton, wide open at the goal line. And a flag has been thrown.
I think it's going to be roughing the passer.
Cade Otton's 4-yard touchdown puts the Buccaneers in front. Third touchdown of the career of Cade Otton, the first one this season for the former tight end out of the University of Washington. He's going to be a weapon, not only as this season unfolds, but throughout his Buccaneer career with his ability to go down the field. And by the way, when you talk about quarterback safety, player safety, the Bucs got flagged for a personal foul hit on Derek Carr in the game. Jeff Green falling on him with the full weight, the defensive tackle. Okay, I understand the NFL's emphasizing that. You can't do that. But the hit on Mayfield, the high hit after the touchdown throw, that was worthy of an ejection on a quarterback. And Sean Hockley, the referee, should be called out on some of this because these are his judgment calls. He's standing back there with an umpire, and how they let that Saints player come in and blast Shepard, come in and blast Baker Mayfield. It's inexcusable. Yes, it's 15 yards, but it's inexcusable in my mind that was not an ejection. That's a total cheap shot, high-low hit. I'm sure the NFL will come out and will fine the Saints player, Shepard, for the roughing the passer call. But I believe that could have been an ejection for the high hit. And we saw Justin Herbert in the late game with the Raiders go to the sideline and take a hit out of bounds that was a high hit, one step out of bounds, and that was an ejection. It's up to the discretion of the referee, the officiating staff, and the referee as to what to do. But I really thought that could have been called and should have been called. It was not. So we march on, we play on, and this will be the first of several times that you're going to hear a highlight of Antoine Winfield Jr. Amazing Sunday for him on the floor of the Superdome, including chasing the quarterback here.
Here's the snap, dropping Carr, a delay blitz by Winfield. Carr under some heat, he goes down, he's sacked at the 41-yard line. First sack of the game turned in by the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense, and for the Saints, they have allowed 13 now in this, their fourth game.
Winfield able to come off the edge there and get the sack. We're going to talk with Dave Moore a little bit about this later on. It reminds you of Rondé Barber. Rondé's in the Hall of Fame, just went into the Hall of Fame this offseason. I'm not saying Antoine Winfield's career stacks up to Rondé Barber's career in terms of longevity, accomplishments, but the way he plays the game at his size, how physical he is, the way he can run with wide receivers as a defensive back, as a safety, or as he's covering in the slot, if need be, he reminds you of Rondé Barber. And you're going to continue to see him be able to make these kind of plays with the instincts, the fact he's got NFL pedigree. His father was a Pro Bowl NFL player. We got plenty of more Antoine Winfield Jr. highlights coming up. All right, so the Buccaneers put a good drive together late in the first half, and this is the drive where Mike Evans actually went out with the hamstring injury. Nonetheless, you're able to get a couple of completions. You're able to get into scoring range. You're at least going to kick a field goal. You know you have the ball coming out to start the second half. And this is one of the few mistakes Baker Mayfield has made. Unfortunately, it comes right here.
Here's the Snap on 2nd and 1 toward the corner. It's intercepted the goal line. Chris Godwin, the intended receiver. That's a no-no, Baker.
Didn't have to have it. As Gene and Dave were calling it there, the interception gives up the field goal at least, if not the touchdown. It's a second down play that you're throwing that long to the end zone for the interception. But here's what I like about the complimentary football. Late in the first half, here's what you like about complete performance. Is the Saints are trying to do a conservative thing, get out of their own end. They ended up calling the interceptor down at the 1, saying his momentum took him into the end zone, but he actually caught the ball at the 1-yard line. So the Saints have the ball at the 1. They're trying to punch it out of the 1. And speaking of punching it out, guess who's punching the ball out late in the first half?
Snap under center. Carr will feed the ball to the fullback, and Prentice is going to just get down low. And
The ball's out.
no, the ball is loose. The Buccaneers say they've come up with it. Buccaneers say we've got the football. Well, Antoine Winfield says he's got the football.
They got it.
Let's see if the Bucs have it. We do. So Prentice, the fullback.
The ball was fumbled, recovered by Tampa Bay. It's first down.
First down and goal at the 6-yard line with 29 seconds. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
Another forced fumble for Antoine Winfield, just like he got in the Minnesota game against his father's old team in week 1. And he recovers it as well. What a momentum flip around. What a 180 high you are now on to get the ball right back in scoring range with under 30 seconds to go in the half because of the strip and the recovery. And I know there were other defenders there. Levante David pulling at the ball and a couple of others. But Antoine Winfield's the one that got to it. Great takeaway, and eventually it leads immediately to this for another score.
Mayfield stops, looks, fade route, end zone. Is it a caught ball? It's a touchdown, Tampa Bay. Trey Palmer leaps over the defender, and the Buccaneers throw, and he got 2 feet inbounds. Apparently, the official right on the spot says it's 6 for the Bucs.
Being Gene Deckerhoff on the calls on 98 Rock. How sweet is that for Trey Palmer, a kid who played the bulk of his college career at LSU. He finished his last season at Nebraska, had a tremendous pass-catching season for the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a bad year. But he was on those LSU teams hanging around the likes of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and that's one of the reasons why he wanted to transfer out, because he wasn't getting a lot of playing time at LSU. But Trey Palmer gets the feet down. Great catch. Great boost. Momentum boost to lead 14-3 at the half, knowing you're going to get the ball to start the second half. I talked with Coach Todd Bowles at halftime and said, hey, what about the momentum swing? He said, huge, enormous, obviously, to get that ball back and get that touchdown when you thought, hey, you had a turnover in the red zone and you thought that's going to cost us. It ultimately did not cost the Buccaneers because you get the ball right back, you get the touchdown, you get the second half kickoff. All right, so the Saints got a sack of Mayfield to nullify the opening drive to start the second half. So the Buccaneers punt the ball away. There have been all kinds of question marks about Derek Carr and his arm. There was some good, some bad. A lot of the passes were short passes in the game. He was definitely not trying to throw the ball with zip down the middle of the field. He was able to try to air it out a couple of times, including right here. And I'll give you 3 guesses before we play the highlight. Who's going to make the play on the long pass? Here you go.
It is 3rd down and 16. Shotgun look now by Carr. Takes a high snap. Drops back to throw. Anderson, he throws the ball deep toward the end zone. Receiver in the area. It's an incomplete pass. Knocked away at the last moment.
Winfield.
Antoine Winfield ran 50 yards to knock it away from Olave in the end zone.
Wow. I mean, to his credit, there's Antoine Winfield not only sacking the quarterback, not only making plays in the backfield with stripping the ball out from a fullback and recovering, but now you got to run 40 or 50 yards, as Gene is calling it, and go swat the ball away at the last second from Chris Olave. I mean, Olave's there. The ball is there. That's like 99% touchdown. And a huge momentum play for the Saints if they can make it. Instead, the ball is swatted away by Winfield, who's got to be in high consideration for NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He was everywhere Sunday. I mean, there he is running down, catching up to Olave, who slowed down to make the catch in the end zone, and swat. The ball is out of there. Great job, obviously, by Winfield to knock that out of there and keep the lead at 14-3. The Saints would eventually add a field goal to trim the lead to 14-6. The Bucs then put a good drive together again, got a couple of first downs, had some penalties, eventually got back into the plus territory. Then the drive stalls, and here is another weapon for this team. Credit Jason Licht, John Spytek, the entire staff for finding players as they've consistently done in their tenure, including the kicker in this case.
So it is a 51-yard field goal attempt. First field goal attempt of the game by Chase McLaughlin out of Illinois. Good spot. The kick is airborne. It is long enough, and it is good. You bring in Chase McLaughlin to kick 50-plus yard field goals, and he delivers in the Big Easy. And the Buccaneers lead 17-6. 13 and a half left to the fourth quarter.
That was a bullet, kids. I'm down there on the floor of the Superdome to the right of the Buccaneer bench, and that field goal, again, he kicks it with a lower trajectory from 50 yards plus, but that field goal would have easily been good from 60. And he warms up kicking 58, 59-yard field goals, even on the road, like it's nothing, especially in the climate-controlled conditions like at Minnesota or like in New Orleans, where it's not a bad field. You don't have to worry about weather and wind. Just a tremendous weapon. And how good has Chase McLaughlin been with the 50-yard field goals? He has now made 19 out of 23 of them in his NFL career, and several of them now in Buccaneer colors. Give McLaughlin a lot of credit. Give, again, Jason Licht and his staff a lot of credit for finding him. He kicked in Indianapolis last year. He's been with 7 different NFL teams, but seems to have found a home here. And that pushes it back up to an 11-point game at 17-6. And the Buccaneer defense, again, would stymie the Saints. The Saints tried to put a drive together. They were trying to get the ball to Alvin Kamara, who had come off of suspension for 3 games for violation of the personal conduct policy for an assault charge in Las Vegas a couple of years ago. So Kamara was back, but the Bucs were all over him. He got some runs, but not much out of the backfield catch. How about Alvin Kamara had 13 catches? 13! Because Carr was dumping it down to him over and over again, but he only had 33 yards. That is the lowest output in the history of the National Football League by far for somebody with 13 catches or more. The previous low was 71 yards. That's because the Bucs were all over him. Devin White, Levante David, Antoine Winfield, D. Delaney. The guys were everywhere making plays on Kamara 3 yards, 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, so he couldn't get anything. 13 catches, and you don't even get 50 yards, much less 100 yards. Buccaneer defense doing a great job. All right, so you go back to work at 17-9 as we continue on the highlights here. Buccaneers now into the fourth quarter. No Mike Evans, but it's time to make plays. And I'm going to tell you this, Chris Godwin, playmaker for this team, and here it was as Gene and Dave called it in a hostile Superdome.
Maybe the biggest third down of the game. Here's the snap of Goodwin. Pressure coming from the right. Baker Mayfield dumps the ball off, and there's a caught ball. Flag thrown. Godwin across the 30. Outside the numbers to the 20. To the 15-10. He's to the 5-yard line and knocked out of bounds.
Get him the ball in space. He can make it happen. Godwin catch and run is 42 yards for the biggest pass play of his season to this point. You get down at 1st and goal because of that. And really, you could feel there at 17-9. A touchdown will probably put this game away. Buccaneers not able to get in the end zone on the first 2 plays. And then this is just a tremendous ad lib, and this is pro football. This is the NFL at its best on this play that you're about to hear here on Nothing But Bucs.
3rd down and goal from the 5. Draw play. Dropping Baker Mayfield, looking to his left, now back to his right, looking over the middle. Nowhere to throw. Flushed out of the pocket, throws toward the end zone. It's a diving catch right at the goal line. It's going to be a touchdown, Tampa Bay. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. And Deven Thompkins has the catch right at the goal line.
I can't tell you how good that play is. I can't describe it enough. I can't brag about it enough. I mean, Baker Mayfield, first of all, keeps the play alive. A lot of other quarterbacks would have either been sacked or just thrown the ball away and said, let's kick a field goal and make the game 20-9 and you're up 11 again. Mayfield keeps it alive. Mayfield's dancing around. He rolls a little bit to the right, comes back to the left, and what he's doing is looking for somebody to break open. And this was right in front of me. I'm right down there on about the 3-yard line. Deven Thompkins saw him, broke free to the outside, and Mayfield just put it right where Thompkins could make a play. He leaps at the ball and makes the catch, a great catch. The ball broke the plane in the air, and Thompkins caught it. So that's 6, but then he lands on the goal line coming out of the end zone. That's also 6. They did review it and look at it. First career touchdown catch for the little speedy receiver Deven Thompkins, who's in his second season. And again, I keep emphasizing you're going to have these guys like Thompkins, Trey Palmer, Chris Godwin step up if Mike Evans is out. We don't know the severity of the hamstring injury. And you get a bye week at a good time. Who knows how effective he can be if he can play at all against the Lions. But with Thompkins and Palmer and Godwin, you have some receiver success. That young man, a tremendous catch. And that play had the 3 letters NFL all over it. Can't say enough about Baker Mayfield and the job he did. And again, the Buccaneers just turned it up with defense from then on, including getting after Derek Carr one more time here.
Kamara on his left hip, dropping Carr. He's hit the backfield and sacked. Fumble football. It's scooped up by the Buccaneers, but it doesn't matter. When the 4th down possession belongs to the Bucs, but a fumble recovered by Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Vita Vea on the sack.
Vea gets the sacks.
I'm not sure who recovered. Well, Logan Hall, number 90.
recovers. And that just about will do it. With 3:22 to go, the Bucs have the ball inside the Saints 20 at the 19-yard line.
Carr hit by Vita Vea, who's now leading the team with 3.5 sacks, or is that? I think it's 4.5 sacks now when Vita got that one. And Carr was wincing when he got up, put his hand up on that right throwing shoulder. I know they'd given him a painkiller injection. He had the AC joint injury in the shoulder trying to throw the ball. We don't know about his status moving forward. They did put Jameis Winston in at the very end. I will be diplomatic here. I will be kind. I won't play the Jameis highlight of him throwing the interception to D. Delaney. We saw this so many times in Tampa Bay. It could be viewed as a cheap shot by me to just simply play the highlight that doesn't matter here. But suffice to say, Jameis Winston wasn't out there. They went with Derek Carr with the injured shoulder. Jameis comes in, throws the interception. Good for D. Delaney. Back-to-back games that he gets one. The Buccaneers get another takeaway in this game defensively. 2 more of them. Love it. Love the job they did. You're able to run out the clock after that and walk away with a 26-9 win that included the Chase McLaughlin's second field goal to help put it away. Can't say enough about a complete performance for this team in all 3 phases, because the special teams, the Jake Camarda punting the ball, McLaughlin with the kickoffs. They also held down tactically Shaheed, the outstanding returner of New Orleans. Every phase of this game was a Buccaneer win. And the 3rd straight win over the Saints for the first time in history. Again, only in the 2000s have they been a divisional opponent. From 1976 to 2002, you only occasionally played the New Orleans Saints, but now you play them twice every year. Buccaneers, 3 straight wins going back to last season, 2 wins in the Superdome. You go back to the 2018 opener. You go to the 2020 season and the playoff win in New Orleans. You go to the win in week 2 last year. You go to the win here. Everybody wants to talk about the voodoo in New Orleans. How about the doo-doo that the Saints have been playing like against the Buccaneers? I like that better. The doo-doo and not the voodoo here on the Nothing But Bucs podcast. And the Buccaneers get it done with a 17-point decisive win in New Orleans, winning again for the second time on the road. 2-0 on the road to start this campaign. All right, when it was done, let's go inside that Buccaneer locker room. Joyous, you'll hear the music playing in the background on our Hooters postgame show, 98 Rock, and the Buccaneer affiliates and the Buccaneers mobile app. You'll hear first from quarterback Baker Mayfield, and then a combo interview of both Deven Thompkins and Chris Godwin after this game was over with and the win over the Saints. Let's go back to that now. It is a 26-9 win. Baker Mayfield immediately after this game with us. This was a pretty complete victory. Your thoughts immediately after it's over?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a complimentary football game against a really tough game, or a tough team. Good matchup for us. We were physical. We made plays on offense, and defense kept bailing us out again. That was the most complimentary football game we've had to date. And even after my interception there in the red zone, got to give Chris a better ball, but defense gets a turnover. We still get points for the half. So that was a good team win.
Follow up on the touchdown where the rookie Trey Palmer makes the catch. That's a huge swing at the end of the half, obviously.
Yeah, unbelievable catch by him. Just a good one-on-one matchup for us. We trust our guys wholeheartedly. Obviously, never good when you lose a guy mid-game like Mike, but we trust him, and so he made a great play.
In the second half, the key drive is late in the game. You went some 75 yards. Chris Godwin with a big catch, and then eventually Deven Thompkins, an incredible touchdown catch. Describe both of those plays.
Yeah, I mean, the third down conversion, Chris did a good job just continuing his route. Wasn't open early, came open late, and just made an incredible play after the catch. Then the touchdown to Deven. I mean, they hit Trey Palmer. He was going to catch a touchdown. They kind of hit him in the middle of his route and kind of had just a late scramble drill with a drop 8 coverage, and Deven did a good job getting open.
Okay, it's only 4 games, but this team has been much more impressive than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Why?
They're not in the locker room with us. We know what our expectations are and our standards are. We believe in each other, and that's what matters.
Baker, congratulations. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
There is Baker Mayfield with us, and we're going to go to Deven Thompkins right here with us as well immediately after this one. My goodness, I was just saying to your quarterback, what a complete performance by this entire team. Say something about that.
I know, it was amazing. We clicked on all cylinders today. We trusted what we was doing, and we executed the play.
All right, big play in this game is your catch down on the goal line to basically put it away. Describe staying alive while Baker's scrambling and then the diving catch. What did you do on that play?
The ball finds energy. That's one thing we talk about. So even in our scramble drills, just keep moving to get open. And then me and Baker locked eyes, and I just took off to the other side, and he just let it go. And I saw the ball, and you got to get the ball anytime you can.
In that moment, are you thinking anything? Is it just instinctive, dive, go get the ball?
Yeah, it's instinctive. It's secure the catch. That was it, secure the catch.
I just asked him the same thing. A lot of people didn't think very much of this team all off season. It's not everything, but you're 3-1. What statement does that make for this team to this point?
We're coming to play. We love being the underdogs. We understood that coming into the season, and that was a big chip on our shoulder for all of us. And we all want to play for each other. That's the biggest thing. We love playing together. We love playing for each other. So I feel like that's the biggest thing, and that's been helping us with our success.
Deven, thank you.
Yep.
Again, we'll keep it right here, and Chris Godwin is also here within earshot of me. Same question I just asked these other guys. This was a pretty complete victory, was it not? Tell me more about the overall team win.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to put it. It was a complete victory, right? We had everybody contributing, and defense played a hell of a game. Offense, we overcame a little bit of adversity early on and found a way to close it out.
Big catch and run for you in the fourth quarter, a 45-yarder down, or a 42-yarder, I believe it was, down around the 5-yard line. Describe what you remember from that play and what you did after the catch.
I think it was a little bit of a scramble. Baker, he does a great job of extending plays. Just trying to find a way to get in his vision so that he can, have an outlet. I caught the ball, saw there was nobody there, tried to take off. I wish I could have got in the end zone, but they made a good play and stopped me. But it's a big play at a crucial time in the game, so I'm happy to be able to help my team.
I know Deven is still within earshot. Trey Palmer was over here a minute ago. Those two young men made huge catches for touchdowns in this game, stepping up.
Oh yeah, you said you had it right there on the head, man. Huge catches from both of those guys, and it's no surprise to anybody on this team. Those two guys, they work their asses off. They come in with a great attitude every day, and they attack the day trying to get better. So I'm happy for both of them getting the end zone.
I know it's the regular season, but you guys now have beaten the Saints 3 times in a row. You've won twice in a row in this building. It's a South Division rivalry. It's got to be a little sweeter beating these guys on the road, right?
Always. Winning in this stadium is great. It's a great environment to play in. Like you said, it's a division rival. So to come in here and to win, and now to have 3 in a row, it's big for us, man.
Chris, thank you.
Yes, sir.
26-9 is the final. Again, give credit where it is due, because Baker Mayfield was solid when he had to be. 116.9 passer rating, 3-touchdown game, the third 3-touchdown game of Baker's career. His first, obviously, with the Buccaneers. 25 of 32 was efficient. Toughness with the plays. Again, very hard to hear. The Bucs had some false start penalties. Tough in that instance with the crowd noise, but they overcame it. And by the way, you keep getting in the red zone and getting touchdowns, which that last one to Deven Thompkins that you heard him talking about, huge to put the game away. Instead of kicking field goals, you're going in, you're getting 7 to Cade Otton in the first half. Then after the Winfield takeaway, you get the one to Trey Palmer, you get that one to Thompkins. That's 21 points that you needed. This team much more efficient in the red zone than they were at the beginning of last season. Let's just say, even with the GOAT, you had trouble scoring touchdowns in the first 4 games last year in the red zone. Had trouble scoring touchdowns, period. So give the Buccaneers credit. Again, for Chris Godwin, who you heard from, 19th career 100-yard game in his Buccaneer career. That trails only Mike Evans, who has 34 of them on the all-time list. Evans is 1, Godwin is 2. give lots of credit. And by the way, we keep mentioning 26 points. That now, my man Paul Stewart, the unofficial historian of the team with buckpower.com, he informs me that is now in regular season play, not including playoff games. In regular season play, the Bucs now sitting on 13,009, or I'm sorry, yes, I believe I have this right, 13,999 points that they have scored in team history. So give credit where it is due to Paul for looking that up and tallying up that information. That they're sitting on that. This was also the 125th road victory in team history. So again, 13,999 points with the 26 points scored on Sunday in regular season play. That's not including the postseason games. And obviously you've won some postseason games. You played in a lot of them and scored a lot of points. And again, 125 road wins now in franchise history. And Todd Bowles continues to have success in the Superdome. 2 games coached there, 2 victories. They handled the loud crowd. And so let's continue with the post-game interviews, including the happy head coach here in the aftermath of this win.
This was impressive from what we saw. Tell me what you saw out there today from your team.
I thought all 3 phases played very well. They played hard, by no means perfect with the penalties, but they played hard and they made some plays. We came down here to win. We opened the game up throwing the football and got after them a little bit. Defense held them out of the end zone. Special teams, for the most part, kept field position. And, you put that all together, that's what we wanted to do and came out with a win.
It wasn't everything, but a key sequence. You throw the interception in the red zone in a 7-3 game late in the first half. And then Antoine Winfield is able to get that ball out from the fullback and recover. Let's just talk about his play first and then what happened after. That's a great individual effort. He had help with the tackle, but he got the ball out and he got on the ball.
He studies, he understands, he listens. We always try to get the turnovers and punching the ball out down there. If we can't get the turnover by interception, he saw an opportunity and punched it out, and it was a huge play for us to go in and get 7 points in the halftime and give us some breathing room.
Trey Palmer ends up making the touchdown catch. And again, that's at least 7 that you needed there in that instance. Just say something about that young man, because he's come up with some big plays early on in the year.
We've come accustomed to him making big plays. He does it so often. He does it in practice. He did it in training camp. He does it in the games thus far. And we really like where he's at. He fights for the football. He's great in the red zone. He's not only fast, but he's turned into a heck of a receiver.
And then in the fourth quarter, in a kind of a back-and-forth 17-9 game, you finally put a drive together to put the game away. Big play that's going to be talked about a bunch for the next 24 hours or more is the catch and run by Chris Godwin that sets you up with 1st and goal.
That was huge, especially with Mike going down for Chris to shake free like that. We got some contributions from Thompkins and as well as Palmer, as well as Raheem, but Chris came up with a heck of a play right there with a catch and run and put us in position.
Then on Tompkins' catch, we were just talking to him a moment ago. My goodness, diving, and it may get lost a little bit, but Baker Mayfield kept that play alive, did he not, for another second or two to be able to find him?
Oh, Baker did a heck of a job staying alive, looking downfield, kept his eyes downfield the whole time. And Thompkins, who always dives on the ground in practice, and I call him Pigpen because he's always on the ground in the dirt by himself, but he catches the ball, and he's becoming a heck of a player.
I'm just checking. That's an unofficial nickname. We're not officially allowed to use that. You're only allowed to use that, right?
Definitely unofficial.
All right, good. Baker Mayfield, can you say – I know it's only 4 games. Can you say enough about his leadership? He had another solid game with 3 more touchdowns today. Say some more about him, please.
He fits our scheme great. He's not just a great leader. He can throw the football, as he's showing people. He's the Baker that came out in the first round. The scheme fits him well. Him and Canales feed off each other very well. The offensive line loves to play for him. He's making plays for us. I love where he's at right now, really do.
Back to your defense, Antoine Winfield Jr. We called his name, obviously, about 7 or 8 times today. Had a sack. Had a tackle in the backfield on Kamara, then ran 50 or more yards down the field with Olave and knocked the ball away. Can you say enough about that performance today?
He's playing like the superstar that we know he is. He understands the game. His study habits are outstanding. He's a true pro, loves to play the game, and he rises to the occasion every time.
All right, you mentioned Mike Evans. That's one downer that he went out of the game. Do we have any update at this stage on what we were told was the hamstring?
Not at the time. We know he tweaked it. Probably get some tests done, run tomorrow, and see where he's at.
So the bye week comes at a good time, obviously, for that injury. But you're off to a 3-1 start headed into the bye. You've got to be pleased right now with where this team stands.
first quarter of the season. We'll take it. It gets us in position to play the second quarter. We got to come out with the same fire with less mistakes and try to finish that off as well.
Coach, thank you. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And let's hear from some more players in this instance, as I got a chance to quickly talk with veteran Levante David, who was all over the place making plays in this one. I talked with him. I talked to Tristan Wirfs immediately after this was over with about throwing some big-time blocks and protecting Baker Mayfield as well as the Bucs did. So let's hear those conversations from our Hooters postgame show as well on Buccaneers Radio.
We are live here on Buccaneers Radio. Hey, congratulations on another win. We've been saying to the guys, and the head coach just said it, this was a complete team win, was it not?
It's definitely a complete team win. We always say we got to go through 4 quarters football, especially against a division opponent. We know how what type of game it's going to be, so definitely a full 4-quarter win.
Can you say enough? He's within earshot. Can you say enough about Antoine Winfield Jr. and the plays he was making all over the field?
I never say enough about Tweez, man. Tweez the playmaker. And glad to have him on our team, man. And, he just doing what he usually do. Just come out there and make plays. This is what's expected.
And one more. Is it a little more special? Because these guys, I mean, it gets spicy out there. It's the Saints, and you've beaten them 2 years in a row in the Superdome. Did it mean a little more?
I mean, for the most part, everybody kept their composure, man. But, for us to go out there and, just go out there and just dominate and do what we do, that's all we expect. No matter what happens out there, man, we just try to play full 4 quarters of football and try to get a W, and that's what we did today.
Thank you for stopping for me. There is the Levante David, as the Bucs have won this one here in the Superdome, 26-9, as they get the job done here this afternoon. And I know Antoine Winfield is still trying to get back out of the shower, get clothes on. We'll keep it right here for a moment because Tristan Wirfs is also talking to the media. We'll go stick a microphone in and listen to what he's got to say as well after this Buccaneer victory today, as they've won the game 26-9.
Having him back there, he's an incredible teammate. I love him. So, he balled out today.
People outside the room would be surprised that you're 3-1 and leading the division after 4 games. Doesn't seem like there's much surprise in here.
No, I mean, we're just trying to take a 1-0 mentality, 1-0 every week. Control the controllables, your technique, your fundamentals, your attitude, your effort. It's simple as that. 3-1's great. 3-1's great going into a very early bye week. We're going to get our bodies healed up for a long stretch ahead, and keep our nose to the grindstone and look up, when it's all said and done, and see where we're at.
Tristan, we're live here on Buccaneers Radio. You may have already talked about this. Can you talk about the young receivers, Trey Palmer, Deven Thompkins, both getting 2 huge touchdown catches that were a big part of the difference in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Mike going down, those guys knew they had to step up, and it's kind of what we've been talking about all camp is just, next man up. Everyone's got their hand in the pile. We're all a resilient group. So when one guy goes down, we know someone else has to fill their shoes. So big props to them. They came in and balled. Those two they're just dogs. They just fight. So it was great.
I don't get tired of asking you this, and I don't think you get tired of answering it. Baker Mayfield through 4 games. It's not the whole season, but say some more about how he's played, the leadership, the key throws, even running when needed.
Yeah, I mean, he's a baller. He's a dog. He loves football. He loves keeping plays alive. So we know we can't have a clock with him. He's gonna fight his nuts off to keep things alive. So we love him. We love the fight and energy that he brings. We're all gonna rally behind him. So. He balled out today. It was awesome.
A 26-9 victory, and we're going to save the best interview for last. He was everywhere through the Buccaneers calculations and tabulations. You can't say enough about what Antoine Winfield did Sunday. I've been extolling his praise here on this podcast. He ends up getting the forced fumble. He ends up getting the sack. How about this stat? I'm gonna look this up, and the guys at Buccaneers PR did a fantastic job. Everybody, guys and gal, with Danielle and Andrew and Michael. And I'm gonna leave somebody out, and Nelson and all the people that assist. They do a great job with the stats. Antoine Winfield is the first player in the NFL in 5 seasons to have in the same game a sack, a forced fumble with a recovered fumble, a tackle for loss, a pass defended, all in the same game. That has not happened in the NFL from one guy. All of those things that I just listed in 5 NFL seasons since that has happened. So, again, I don't know that he's going to get the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, but it seems to me that he might be ready to do that. By the way, Winfield now with 11 sacks since he came into the league in 2020. In that time, he has more sacks than any other defensive back in the NFL through the early games on Sunday with 11 sacks. Again, that is there's a lot to be said for what Antoine Winfield has meant to this defense. Tough guy, reminds you of Rondé. Again, he's got to have a long career of doing it for another decade to be considered like Rondé Barber and Hall of Fame caliber, but he's built like him. He runs like him. I like what I'm seeing out of that guy, a player, no doubt. All right, we've got more here on the Nothing But Bucs podcast. Literally, when this was all over with, I had to get some more, pun again, insight from our analyst, Dave Moore, 15 years in the NFL, 13 with the Bucs. Again, Dave Moore has been in a lot of different battles on the road as a player. He's been with us on Buccaneers radio now for 17 seasons with Gene and me. This is year 19 for me, year 35 for Gene. So veteran radio crew. So I wanted to go to him about what he's seeing about Baker Mayfield specifically, about Antoine Winfield, much more. And we strive to bring you everything here on Nothing But Bucs. So this conversation, I'll pull the curtain back, was happening immediately after the game, after we were done with the live locker room coverage on the Hooters postgame show. We're on the bus getting ready to head to the New Orleans airport and fly back to Tampa when I had this conversation. You'll hear a little bus ambiance maybe in the background here on Nothing But Bucs with a little more postgame conversation and analysis. Keep coming back to the words complete performance. So who better to help analyze and break it down further than that than our longtime Buccaneers radio network analyst, Dave Moore. All right, again, not a lot of people believe this team was going to be 3-1. Let's go first with the game today before we go big picture. Why were they so impressive overall today from what you saw?
Well, they're coming off a short week. It's a tough duty to go on the road against a division opponent, but they started out well. Obviously, defense, we see often the other team's offense will go down the field, then they make adjustments, and they shut them down, and they did a great job doing that defensively today. And then offensively, it took them a while to get going, but once they found some rhythm, every time New Orleans did something, they were able to answer offensively, which really kind of, gave them a big uphill road towards the end of that game. I mean, by the end of the third quarter, half the stadium was empty. Just because the Bucs kept grabbing that momentum back every time it got away from them.
Antoine Winfield Jr., we just heard from him on the podcast. Can you say enough about everywhere on the field? The strip fumble, yes, but he's in the backfield for a sack. He's in the backfield tackling Kamara. Then he's 50 yards down the field chasing Chris Olave to knock away what is probably a touchdown.
Well, we've been hearing since camp how impactful he is as a player, and he put it all together today. I mean, sack fumble, the punch out, the big play on the potential touchdown, tackle for a loss. I mean, he was everywhere today, and he's just such a professional. I had the opportunity to play on the same team as his father. His father was the same way. Guy that showed up, was ready to play every week, and you can see he does his homework and anticipates a lot of that.
Do you remember Antoine as a little guy, Antoine Winfield Jr.? Did you ever see him as a little guy running around, and now here he is making plays while we do the radio?
No, without a doubt. I mean, we first saw him, he didn't appear to be able to be as dominant as he is. I mean, he's put some weight on after his first year, and he spent a lot of time in the weight room. It looks like he got faster, too, because he's ran some guys down today.
You would be a great one to ask about Rondé Barber. You played with Rondé Barber for a lot of years. I'm not saying he is Rondé Barber, but he kind of reminds you at times of things that Rondé does besides just play the position. I mean, sacking the quarterback, knocking the ball out, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just a complete defensive back, and that includes being in the slot, being able to play safety in situations. Just shows how well he understands the defense, because he can play a number of different positions and be impactful. But yes, Rondé Barber would do that. You could put him on the outside. He would blitz, sack the quarterback, was a great tackler, took advantage of opportunities to get interceptions. He was great that outside, contain, free hitter that would come in and tackle bigger runners off the edge, just like Antoine does. But he is that all-around type player for sure.
Baker Mayfield, there have been a lot of questions about the Buccaneers bringing him here. Again, this is only 4 games, but what do you see? You played in the league a long time. Why is he having success? Why is this team responding and rallying around him?
Well, I mean, you have to admire his toughness and scrappiness, but he's had enough experience where he's able to get the offense to the right play. He checks plays, changes them, and he's not forcing anything. Yes, he had the interception, but it's one of those where he can't see that guy. He did a great job on the play with his eyes, trying to hold the safety on that side, and then came back to the crossing route. But he's not careless with the football. He's smart with his decision making. He throws it away when he needs to, and he's making accurate throws under pressure a lot, which is pretty impressive.
And real quick, the bye comes at a good time to try to heal up injuries. Jamel Dean, Mike Evans today. We don't know how serious the hamstring injury for Mike Evans. But in some ways, you might want to keep playing when you start 3-1 and win 2 games on the road like this. But for right now, you got to heal up on the bye and get ready for the Lions in a couple of weeks, right?
The bye week can be very beneficial, or it could be detrimental depending on what kind of state of mind physically and mentally they are coming out of that bye week. So yes, you like to keep playing, but you want to get Cansey back, you want to get Evans back, you want to get Jamel Dean back, and anybody that's dinged up, they have an opportunity to get some rest. So, I'm looking forward to, getting these guys back, but then you got that 13-week haul prior to the playoffs on the backside of that, which is not an easy task.
No doubt. You make this an easy task. I always love talking with you. Thank you for a few more minutes here on the podcast off a Buccaneer win, Dave Moore.
Pleasure. Go Bucs.
Again, we'll emphasize in conclusion here that it is only 4 games. I get that. But let's be real here, though, on Nothing But Bucs. There were analysts everywhere talking about this team being one of the worst teams in the league, talking about this team may have the number 1 pick. People over and over again saying the Bucs are going to win 3 or 4 games. Just like the country music star who's battling cancer now, Toby Keith, how do you like me now? For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be 3-1 when a lot of people believe the reverse, 1-3 or 0-4. Oh, there's no Tom Brady. This is going to be an awful season. It's a waste. Baker Mayfield's on his 4th team. You don't have a salary cap that you can play with and go get free agents, which is true. Your salary cap strapped. Too much pride, too many stars. When you've got the names of Evans and Godwin in the receiving corps, Wirfs anchoring that offensive line at left tackle, young players like Rashad White, Cade Otton with a veteran quarterback with Baker Mayfield, you're going to be able to make plays. You're going to be able to be in games. Too much pride, too many star defenders. I keep going down the list of the likes of Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett, Joe Tryon, Show Yenka, on and on. Anthony Nelson, who are veterans who've all been part of winning on this team. Levante David, Devin White, Antoine Winfield, Carlton Davis. Jamel Dean, I know, was injured and not in this game. Too many stars to think that this team is going to be a 3-14 team, 4-13. If they can stay healthy, stay upright, this is every bit of an 8, 9, 10-win team moving forward. Do you realize that and understand it now? NFL pundits, NFL talking heads, keyboard warriors, everybody that poo-pooed whether the Bucs were going to be any good. They played 4 games and they've won 75% of them. All right, I went to public school here in Hillsborough County in Tampa. I went to the former Memphis State. I am not a math major, but if you play out a 75% winning percentage over the season, you're going to have either 12 or 13 wins at the end of this year. So I don't know if it's going to remain a 75% winning percentage, but I do know this. You've got a fantastic opportunity to come off the bye week and go beat the Detroit Lions and be 4-1 and really be one of the top teams right now in the NFC. I know Philadelphia at the top, the 49ers at the top, but you've got a golden opportunity against a really good Detroit team to get a win and make a lot of people believe. I think there are a lot more people believing now. They've seen it. I mean, I was watching the highlights with Chris Berman and Booger McFarland, and Chris Berman was even saying it. There were a lot of people that were wondering about this, and the only thing you can say right now is 3-1. 3-1 with 3 impressive showings in victory and 1 loss to one of the best teams in the league. And the Eagles remained undefeated with a wild overtime win over the Washington Commanders on Sunday, a game they could have potentially lost. Why did Washington not go for 2 with the tying touchdown with no time left? Instead, they played for overtime, and Philadelphia eventually won it. But this team's only losses to the Eagles. They will see the 49ers later in the year, who are really good. Christian McCaffrey, 4 more touchdowns yesterday. But right now, if you're looking around, I know Dallas Cowboys, but the Cowboys went and laid an egg against a bad Arizona team.
And the Cowboys have some injuries. They beat another horrible team in New England. And I know there may be some criticism of who the Bucs have played. But look, you won that opening game at Minnesota. They won 13 games a year ago. Hostile environment, first game for Baker Mayfield at quarterback, first game for your offensive coordinator. You won that game. I'll give you the Bears are a dumpster fire. They're awful. And you beat them. And that's not saying much. You then lose to Philadelphia, and that's saying something to try to beat Philadelphia. A lot of people are going to go up against them and be on the wrong side of the outcome. Now you go play New Orleans, who was 2-1 coming into the game, who's at home, and you beat them. The only thing you can do is beat the teams on your schedule, and the Buccaneers have done that. And at the end of the year, they're not going to have qualifiers about who you beat that had a winning record and qualifiers about when you beat them, if you beat them at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season when they were beat up and injured. They only say how many. How many wins do you have? And right now, the Buccaneers are 3-1 when, again, there was much doubt about this team all over the NFL. I mean, the Vegas over-unders were 6.5 wins. How does that look right now? Long way to go. You got to get healthy, but how does that look right now? Again, the Bucs will go into the bye week, and it's a good thing. We'll get further evaluation in about 10 days or so on Mike Evans. How bad is the hamstring or not? He'll get some treatment on it for this week. Thankfully, the Bucs not playing. Then we'll get a better idea of how severe it is the week of the upcoming Lions game. You get to heal up for Devin White, who was better in the Superdome on Sunday than what he was on Monday night in terms of being able to move around. I know Vita Vea has been battling a pectoral muscle. Ryan Neal got a concussion right off the bat on the first play of the game. He gets a chance to heal up and get out of concussion protocol. Jamel Dean, get him back healthy. Carlton Davis played the entire game and was strong. How about Cade Otton played every snap for the young tight end on Sunday. So you get to rest Baker Mayfield up a little bit. His shoulder got dinged in the Monday night game. He had his ankle rolled up on him, that cheap shot hit by the Saints in the first quarter that should, again, at least be a fine. I thought should have been an ejection. Heal these guys up, get them better, and then let's see what it looks like for the Detroit Lions. And that's going to be a lot of fun with the orange, the creamsicle orange jerseys, going to put all that on for the throwback game, the white helmets with the Bucco Bruce. And the Lions come in as the former NFC Central opponents for so many years. I still have nightmares of Barry Sanders making Buccaneers miss him back in the late 80s and the early 90s. I mean, I'm talking about great players like Hardy Nickerson, John Lynch that couldn't get their hands on Barry Sanders in the mid-90s, going up against him, early mid-90s. So, but those Lions will be in here. These are the Lions of Jared Goff now, of Aiden Hutchinson. Dan Campbell's got that team playing well. They come off the Thursday night win against Green Bay. So we again look forward to that matchup at Raymond James Stadium a week from Sunday, coming on October the 15th. It will be the next game. Cannot wait for that one here as part of our coverage on Buccaneers Radio. And again, I want to thank everybody for helping me out with this podcast. Jason Behringer with the highlights. Jeff Ryan's our director of broadcasting. Everybody with Buccaneers.com and the mobile app getting it out. Again, follow or subscribe through the Buccaneers mobile app for the alerts. Also, follow or subscribe Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. It's going out in terms of Nothing But Bucs on the day after the game, usually midday the day after the game. You get the highlights, you get the interviews that you heard, you get other interviews, other analysis, my takes from the field, etc. This was an enormous Sunday at the Superdome. I again say one more time, a complete win. It is early on in the season, but for a team that many believed was going to be something like 1-3 after these first 4 games, you've won 3 of them. You're 3-1. You're riding high into the bye week. Get healthy, get refocused, and get ready for the Lions. 2 games at home, Lions and Falcons. Oh, if you can take advantage of those. Let's find out if the Bucs can do that. For now, we are good. Thank you for being with me as we've recapped the Buccaneers' 26-9 win over the New Orleans Saints. I'm TJ Rives for all of us with Buccaneers Radio, with the Buccaneers mobile app, etc. Make sure you're following or subscribing because you get everything in the full recap on Nothing But Bucs.